Now I got a plan, okay? This isn't scripted, I swear, this next part. POV, I give you a kiss on the cheek for good luck. Overwhelmed? Are you feeling overwhelmed? Because I've been there, alright? I've been planning to do more than I can do to achieve a goal, and here's how you can succeed instead of failing when you've got a lot on your plate. Alright, number one, you just got to plan. Number two, you just got to sacrifice. Those two things are really important. They sound simple, but they're not actually that simple. I've got a lot of good tips later in the video that cover that, and some book quotes if you're interested in that. Basically, what I know about being overworked is that I've been wanting to do way too much recently. You know, I've been wanting to do part-time army work, I've been wanting to do full-time job work, I've been wanting to do uni work, 2 subjects a semester. I've been wanting to do exercising every day, working out, you know, I've been wanting to do martial arts every day or twice a week. I've been wanting to have a social life, and all of those things together without even the social life thing add up to about 75 hours per week. Okay, that's way too much. I'm gonna aim for about 50 to 55 hours per week of productive work. And then after that, that can be left for working out or martial arts and social life, okay? That still leaves like 45 hours in the week, because I think there's 100 hours in the week, roughly, probably more than that. 24 hours in a day times 7, you know, it's more than 100 hours. But anyway, take away sleep as well, gotta think about that. Anyway, the way I figured out that I had 75 hours per week and that it was way too much was I wrote it down in a list. I wrote it down in a list, and as I slowly kept removing certain things to lower the hours, I got to about 50 to 55 hours, but I had to sacrifice a lot. So the key is you're gonna have to sacrifice. You're gonna have to know what you have to sacrifice for the one goal that you want, okay? Focus on one goal at a time. And I realized while writing this that I'm behind on uni work, so I was getting angry at myself for filming this, okay? But ironically enough, I do uni work so that I can look for jobs in my spare time, so that I can afford to invest back into this YouTube channel and invest in myself so I can create better content and that sort of thing. So ironically, I'm getting angry at myself for aiming towards the goal that I want. So I had to do some realigning in my head, okay? I'm gonna be honest, the best thing I can recommend for being more productive and using the best of those 50 to 55 hours is doing something as soon as you wake up in the morning. Before you go to work, before you get before your boyfriend and girlfriend wakes up, before you want to do anything in the morning routine, because nothing else in the morning routine really matters that much, okay? You don't need a fucking cold plunge. You need to get up and do the hard thing first, and that's easier said than done, but here's a way you can do it as long as you don't put too much on your plate all at once in the morning. That is effective and has worked for me. So get up, get a glass of water, do what you need to do first, which is usually a pretty hard decision to make, especially if it's as soon as you get out of bed. That gets easier though, the more you make it to a habit and the more you make it into a routine. This method is called front loading. You can do some research on that if you want. Front loading is the most effective thing that I've ever done, okay? Way more than a morning routine or anything like that. I think I mentioned before that you shouldn't be eating for 1 to 2 hours at the start of the day. Let me explain, okay, the eating thing. Not eating is important, and I've learned this from someone called Hamza. He's another YouTuber, he's very successful. For some reason, I don't eat as soon as I get up, and it's much easier to get things done. For some reason, I think it just gives you more clarity in your head, and you know, you're more motivated before you have food to get stuff done. It's kind of like our 50 IQ ancestors. They would hunt for food for 1 to 2 hours a day, and then after they hunted, they would eat the food, and that was kind of how it was done. Don't eat food for the first 1 to 2 hours, get more motivation. It's pretty simple, okay? It's not easy, but it's simple, all right? I want to ask you this then. Are you overwhelmed because you're lazy or because you're scared of what you have to sacrifice? The truth is that most of the time, fear is what stops people from doing anything at all. And for example, my dad invests in altcoin. I'm not trying to say my dad's better than your dad. My dad invests in altcoin and he's not afraid of investing. People still half his age are afraid of trying new things and letting go of old things because their brain gets to them before they can act. I'm not saying my dad's old, by the way. Dad, if you're watching this, I'm not saying you're old, all right? He's gonna laugh at that. I know that when you think something's scary, it's actually way more terrifying if you don't look at it with some perspective of what you'll be like when you're 70, okay? I can't imagine the absolute disappointment I'd have in myself, looking back at myself thinking, oh yeah, I never talked to that girl when I was completely sober at the gym because I was too afraid to. I would think that I was a pussy, okay? At 7 years old, I'm probably thinking that. That's like boomer thoughts. I've often wondered why I don't put 100% in, and I think that's because I'm afraid that I put 100% in, that I'll fail it. And that's the key difference here, I think, is that people who are winning, they won't be demotivated by the thought of failure, which is weird and kind of backwards, but losers will be demotivated by the outlook of failure. They're afraid of failing, whereas winners are motivated by failure, okay? In Rich Dad Poor Dad, he kind of goes into this. He says, the number one reason even people who know how to make money and don't make money is because of fear. In Never Finished, this book here, okay, David Goggins says, when everything is calm, damn near anything can feel possible. This is a long ass quote, so bear with me. Then you begin, and unforeseen challenges knock you the fuck back. These moments of truth demand so much from you that you are bound to feel overwhelmed at times. Many people panic because they believe that they are imposters and their dream is a fantasy. In a blink, they go from being driven and focused to thinking they had no place even trying. So they quit. They fail to grasp there is something they can do to jam that quitter's spiral, as he says. They can take 1 second, I think, instead of react. This guy here. Anyway, this is... with what you've written down, if you've written down something, if you haven't written down it yet, write stuff down now. Pause the video and write it down now. And once you've written down all the tasks you want to do, look at which one will move you closer to your ultimate goal and pursue that one. This means sacrificing other ones to reach that. Just remember that overworking yourself isn't the worst possible outcome, because at least if you overwork yourself, you know where your limit is. All right? In fact, you might even want to overwork yourself one time and just find out where your limit is for that, and don't be afraid of it. I mentioned at the start that I'm going to aim for somewhere between 50 to 55 hours per week of working to achieve my goal, and time outside of that is dedicated to working out and my social life. I say this for a reason. Courage can change any outcome.